T-Rolster versus Jin Air Green Wings, game number 1. And there's a Gangplank ban right away. I'm going to take a second to take off this other part of my mask so you don't have to hear me talk through it.
Go for it. Anyway, Shen, unfortunately going to be banned, so you will not see 3 Shens on this broadcast today. And that has been a pretty standard ban.
There we go.
And the Fizz coming through too, so respecting that potential from Someday to carry out of that top lane position.
All right, speaking of carrying, go ahead and take your mask off. I'll carry it for the next 30 seconds. Go for it, man. All right, Ash ban as well, too. We saw that be a bit of a contested pick so far this week. The Fizz ban against KT. Obviously, Trace really wasn't equipped to play that yesterday. We saw them try it twice in a row. It worked exactly 0 times. And I don't think we're going to see him try it again today, but banning it out against Someday anyway.
I guess I'm a little surprised because in the finals, KT would first pick Fizz on the blue side, and then SK Telecom just countered with the Malphite, which is something we know that Trace plays. So
it is a bit odd, isn't
they
it? They
could have had that same matchup again tonight that Marin did so well with.
Well, there's the Azir first pick for Nagne, and Nagne has been a good one, getting a bit of a shoulder rub. Oh no, it tickles from the coaches. Elise Braum, maybe the pickups here for Jin Air. The Elise locked in, no big shock.
Yeah,
but will they take that Braum? Yes, they will.
Chaser really preferring that Elise, even in the blind pick, of course, very powerful champion. For those guys who don't know, we are in 5:15 today, so it's not 5:16.
Yep, no Skarners will be seen in this broadcast.
Thank the maker.
Unless, that's right, unless it's a Cloud Templar tribute, like we kind of just did.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, pretty much. It was, we're pretty sure Cloud Templar was one of those 2 Shens back in the day that spawned that meme way back when. Alistar Kog'Maw locked in for KT. So going for that late game damage with the AD carry. What's it going to be for Jin Air?
So pretty standard stuff so far. Arrow has been placing a premium on the Kog'Maw so far this season. The Azir Kog'Maw really one of the core compositions that KT used in the second round robin in the summer seasons to move themselves up the ranks, having that peel as well as the damage from the Azir in the mid lane.
Yep. Well, the Vayne certainly could work as well.
KT liked to ban Vayne in the finals against SKT, so that was a champion pickup that they didn't want to go through. I don't think we're going to see the Xerath here.
Yeah, a little chuckle from GBM. I mean, that Xerath, GBM is definitely one of the best Xeraths out there, but the Victor pick much more meta, much better, I would say.
Yeah, and he had a good performance on Victor even yesterday. GP and Victor seem to be his go-to champions these days. So Victor and Vayne, some nice late-game scaling between these 2 picks.
So the final 2 picks over to KT Rolster now. I know a lot of what Jin Air is bringing, except for that top laner, and KT has yet to pick theirs as well, too. The Maokai still up for grabs. No Fizz to counter-pick it.
Yeah, but Trace could play Gnar.
True.
Which is still an option if he wants to go for that kind of play. KT already has some good engage with the Alistar, so they could also just blind pick the Gnar here. And Someday not going to get a counter pick this time around. And, you know, this is an evolution of Jin Air's draft. Previously, they would have just picked Rumble or Maokai very early on in the draft and just allowed Trace to get counter picked. And the Fiora.
Will we see the Fiora? We will. It's going to the top lane. So Jin Air with a chance to counter pick it. What do you think about the Maokai Fiora matchup right now? Malphite's still available too. I feel like Malphite could do some pretty serious work versus Fiora.
Well, we saw actually earlier in the gauntlet the Malphite Fiora matchup, and that Frozen Heart, you know, it's probably the best item you can buy because of the true damage on Fiora's passive. So it's still tough, and apparently Someday feels comfortable in that matchup. Later on it can get good, but holding that Fiora down and stopping the split push can be a bit problematic.
The Malphite hovered over right now for Jin Air. Worked against Duke. Is it going to work against Someday? Duke is a pretty great mid laner, but Someday has just been on another level aside from the finals we just saw.
Yeah, well, he actually performed okay in the finals considering that they early picked that Fizz. I think he got screwed a little bit in terms of the draft picks. And then the Gangplank game he rebounded really well in on a personal level, but it will be the Malphite, so we get to see Jin Air play that matchup once more, Trace, he did all right up against Duke's Fiora, but a lot of that was Najin misplaying the Fiora split push on the map. So KT will have to do that a little bit better.
Decent amount of ganking pressure early on as well, too, if Chaser decides to go up to the top lane. Might be able to catch that Fiora.
Yeah, might be able to get him, but there's not a lot of damage coming out of that Malphite early. So, and Fiora has a lot of mobility since the rework, so she can potentially escape that unless they open up with the cocoon, but it may not be able really be a chance to lock her down until Malphite hits 6. Yeah. But there are other options here, of course. The Elise Braum combination super good because if you hit a cocoon, you can hit him with the Winter's Bite and then just chain the stuns together immediately. And KT going for what is really a 4-1 composition. They've got great disengage from the Gragas, big front line, and the Azir ultimate to protect Fiora and Kog'Maw. I have to say, I really like KT's comp. We've seen this Fiora be on the rise.
That's right. Well, we will see who takes the early momentum in this best of 5 Dakota Worlds. Let's get in the game. And welcome to Summoner's Rift Game 1, KT Rolster versus Jin Air, the final seed for the World Championships here in 2015. On the line between these two teams in this one best of 5. By the end of the night, we'll know who's on the way to Worlds.
Yes, we will. All 3 Korean teams will be locked in. Jin Air finishing this season in 6th place on the outside, looking in at the playoffs, and
all those signs say your Shen cosplay was amazing. Well, thank you guys. Thank you. I appreciate that. That means a lot to us. Appreciate it. Has nothing to do with Nagne. Don't worry about that. There is Nagne by pure coincidence on the Azir in the map.
And this has been really Nagne's best champion, right?
Yeah, definitely.
He's not as flashy of an Azir player as guys like EasyHoon or Coco, where he goes all in to initiate team fights, but on this Azir, he holds his cooldowns really well. He plays from the back line until he knows the moment to strike, and he'll often try and go in late in a team fight to finish people off instead of going in first. So very different style of Azir play.
He's a cleanup Azir. You know, you contrast that with like CJ Coco, that's very much an initiating Azir, and you see 2 very, very different team fighting styles, both effective, but just in different ways.
Yeah.
I just want to watch Sunday's Fiora, man. I want to see if this guy can go off on this champion. Didn't work out terribly well for Duke when he tried to bring it against Trace.
Well, China has elevated this pick to first pick. I mean, we've now seen it, even though they are on 5-16, but Fiora is still obviously quite strong. And that pick has been blue side first pick worthy, according to many of the Chinese teams in their Worlds qualifier. So that's something that has become quite powerful ever since Acorn debuted the new Fiora.
Both Fiora and Gangplank pretty exciting and possibly ban-worthy for the rest of the match. One thing I know for sure is we are not going to get to see GBM play that Gangplank unless it ends up being in a blind pick.
Yeah, I think that's unlikely, especially if someday can show that he can play the Fiora. He may not have to resort to the Gangplank out of the top lane.
Yep. Looks like we're going to have the duos facing off up in top lane, so lane swap called.
And it's like just everyone going to recall. And again, KT in the 2v2 lane didn't have that same success. What do we expect from KT? Deep jungle invades, Score and Peekaboo working together to help Nagne out in the mid lane. And when he's pushed up like this, it could be a problem. Now, worth noting that Jin Air has gone for the Vayne this game, so they're not going to have that same wave pressure and wave clear that they would have had if they had played more like SK Telecom did in the finals, which means that Peekaboo may get out on the map, and that is quite dangerous.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, League lately, it seems like it's become kind of a game of wave clear. You know, whichever team has more of it tends to have a bit of an edge. Do you feel like Jin Air's just not respecting that?
I think they have enough wave clear, I think, with the Victor. He has some of the strongest wave clear in the game right now. But in terms of locking down Peekaboo, we need to see some pretty specific strategies coming through. And you can see some wards going down around the river right now. Scuttler will be taken by Chaser as Score gets there just a little bit late.
Score tried to get it. Couldn't quite get the barrel on it in time. GBM way ahead in CS. over Nagne in the very early stages of this game, but I guess you're just going to have that poke with Victor, and Nagne's going to probably get a decent amount of CS back right now.
It is a bit surprising to see Victor poked out so heavily in the early game, but GBM had a pretty big mana advantage. You can see he went for the flask and some mana potions, so he's been able to spam a lot of spells just to push early. I have to say, I think that's a bit dangerous. Again, pushing against Peekaboo and score can come with its fair share of risk. Che making a roam down. Meanwhile, Pilot just staying in the brush on the top side, so they're sacrificing some top CS to see if they can get a kill here.
Nagne is going to have to recall. GBM just doing a bit too much damage early on, and Che and Chaser going into the jungle. And I think this is a good plan, right? I mean, how does KT beat you? They get Score and Peekaboo in your jungle, they get the vision, they control you. If you can be the ones to get in the jungle, if you can be the ones to start controlling that, we've seen that you can take KT apart pretty easily.
You can, but it comes at a price, and the price is going to be this Vayne not getting as much CS as possible. Of course, Pilot has to play very safely, and when you want to play for the late game and a bunch of items on Vayne, sacrificing CS can be something maybe you don't want. But
Peekaboo taking a lot of damage. He may have to burn that flash here. There's a stun. Cocoon. Oh wow, Peekaboo going down first blood. Goes to a bloodthirsty Che. Arrow forced out of lane for the moment as well. And Jinair strikes first in game number 1.
I mean, that's just a mistake from the lane right there. They play very close to that river brush when they have no vision, and that's that synergy between Elise and Braum. If you're standing right there as Alistair, that's a pretty big mistake from Peekaboo. Yeah. If you get hit by a cocoon from the river brush, well, then you're going to get condemned into the wall. You're going to get stunned by Braum's passive, and there's really not any way you can escape from that. And it's worth noting that 4 summoners were used from KT. 1 was used from Jinair for that gank, so wow, it could happen again. That was a very large misplay by Peekaboo.
Yep, and we wondered, you know, what kind of impact Chaser was going to have in this matchup, and a pretty good impact to have is controlling Peekaboo early on. If you can keep this guy from roaming, you've pretty much taken a big step towards beating KT.
Yes, you have. So pings down the lower river from KT Rollster as they're going to start moving down in that direction. Someday going back, picking up another Doran's Blade, but Trace holding on just fine for right now.
Well, the thing is he's okay just kind of sitting under turret, not getting tons of farm. And he's not even having to do that so much right now. He's just concerned about not dying. You know, Trace just basically doesn't die in the early stages of the game and then finds ways to make plays later.
Yeah, and in the team fighting game, KT, they really are looking at that 4-1 split push, because if Jinair can group as 5, they have an extraordinarily powerful team fighting composition, and that Azir wall not really going to deter the Chaos Storm just popping right over it, going onto the back line. The unstoppable force from Malphite against Kog'Maw, Azir, and Fiora. These, you know, it's not too hard to hit him, and here we go, level 6 from Trace.
Yeah. He's got that unstoppable force Chaser right there as well. Someday wondering where everybody's at. Something seems suspicious. Can they get him with a cocoon first? So there we go. There's the ultimate from Malphite. There's a cocoon. Great trap onto Someday. Tries to lunge away. He flashes. Are the minions enough? Chaser tries to repel over to him. Someday, look at those plays. He finally goes down. The Q from Trace finishes him off. Chaser barely escapes. Well, Someday certainly did everything he could there, but a kill, another kill to Jinair.
And what did we talk about coming into this game when it came to Champion Select? Chaser with that Elise, the synergy with the Braum, even pre-6, and then post-6, that's when you could look at a gank alongside the Malphite. Chaser just doing an amazing job of knowing which lanes he can pressure and the timings this game. He hit that lane right after Trace hit 6. Very nicely done.
You know, I feel like all year, Chaser has kind of been waiting for the rest of Jinair to catch up with him. You know, he's always been the best player on the team. He's always been trying to make plays, but there was a trust issue, it looked like. There was synergy issues. Now those seem to be solved, and we're starting to see Chaser have a bigger effect because of it.
Yeah, and he's just working really well with his lanes. Now, yeah. I don't think that was a big misplay from Someday. That was a very patient gank where it looked like, by all accounts, Trace could have been recalling right there because the lane was pushed up and just walking back into lane so he didn't have to use his teleport. But
yeah, you can't blame him too much for that.
The mind games, definitely there. Could he have played slightly more cautiously? Yes, but he wasn't presenting a big target. Just nice patience from Jinair, waiting until that minion died so they have a clean shot with the cocoon.
And meanwhile, in the mid lane, GBM still with a nice, healthy little CS lead over Nagne, but Nagne finally starting to put some pressure on the turret. There's a Chaos Storm just to force him away. GBM needs to recall. Didn't want to deal with Nagne too much right then.
Yeah,
Score was right there too. So
yeah, he knows that this Victor wants to get out and get back to base, so he's going to use this opportunity to get some vision in the bottom side of Jin Air's jungle.
yeah.
And now Jin Air just going to back off and try and farm safely. Pilot doing a pretty good job of CSing in this lane in spite of Che's absences early on. That wasn't punished particularly hard, but of course getting that kill quite beneficial.
Yeah.
Picking up some more CS in the time while Peekaboo was down, and Trey's doing pretty well in this lane actually against Someday, much better than he did against Duke.
He really doesn't seem to be taking a lot of damage. Not a lot to worry about, but maybe with Score coming down, Trace could be in a bit of trouble. He can always ult to safety if he needs to. He's still got Flash as well. Someday, starting that recall, they're going to go in. It was a bait, Trace. Oh no, Score's not coming in though. All right. I mean, I think they just know that Trace has so many ways to escape. It's going to be nearly impossible to gank him right now.
It's going to be tough. Peekaboo now down here to give a hand to. That may be what
wow,
they need.
Arrow.
And they're going to try and swap here. Trace needs to get out.
Yeah, there's the ult. Flashes at the end of it. Flash body slam. Trace gets knocked back under the turret. Whoa, that worked. Explosive cask into headbutt, into death for Trace. Pretty elaborate gank for KT, but they make it work.
Yeah, and Trace not playing with enough respect right there. He didn't know
Oh, Flash Cocoon
where
doesn't hit
anybody
Nagne.
was on the map right there, and he's going to have to cancel his TP onto the teleport just to save Nagne, but good defensive play from KT. And I love the calculation behind the ganks that we're seeing in this game. KT right there, did they pull the trigger when Score got there? No. Just wait for Peekaboo when he also has the necessary abilities. They only had to use one flash from Score to pick up that gank. Good enough. And Trace has to use absolutely everything, so KT trying to fight their way back into this game.
Oh, they're going to try to make a play into Chaser. You're getting very low. Nice Braum ult. Chaser still in big trouble. Going to try to repel away. Will he survive? Someday getting low now. Score manages to pick up the kill, though, onto Chaser, rather. Someday trying to lunge his way to safety. GBM comes in, gets hit immediately. There's a kill for Jin Air. GBM picks one up. Getting low, though, gets taken down by the turret. Score gets the credit, though. Meanwhile, Arrow takes down the bot turret. KT just coming out a little bit ahead of all of these. Jin Air might be able to equalize. No, not quite. Not with 3 members of KT right there.
And now, that's where taking Trace's ult away in the last gank really paid dividends. If he had been able to TP in with that ultimate, it would have been an entirely different story, but KT fights back. They don't even need Arrow in that little tussle. Chaser just gets caught out right here, and you can see ward over the wall just to see if Chaser's going to go over there, but Chaser has no vision. He'd love to get on the other side of that wall right now over to the Gromp, but he can't see it. Then Pilot's just going to come through. Peekaboo has his ult on. GBM gets there faster courtesy of his Ghost, and he gets headbutted in, and that's going to be it for him underneath the turret. So in spite of it being basically a 5v4, they get 2 kills for 1 and the bottom turret.
It's pretty good for KT. Jin Air, I think the nerves need to kind of settle down a little bit for these guys. They're playing a little bit frantic. Just need to chill out a little bit, you know?
Well, they had very calculated ganks in the early game, but that was definitely an overcommitment right there when Trace didn't have his ultimate up. Chaser getting caught out too deep on that little bit of a dive, and now everything all even in terms of gold. Jin Air started this game up 1-2K, and now after that exchange that was so heavily favored towards KT, they're going to get it back.
Yeah, CS leads in all 3 lanes. Jin Air still kind of holding it together, but who's going to get the first dragon? I think that's going to be pretty telling. Who do you think has a stronger team fight early on?
Early here, because, well, Tiamat is done for Someday right now, but you still want that Kog'Maw, I think, to ramp up a little more. And sure, Jin Air has the Vayne, but you really, I mean, Malphite ult is really, really huge.
Yeah, and not to mention Pilot already has Blades, so he's got that first big item. He's got that utility and that damage. So I think you do need to be a little bit careful of Jin Air if you are KT thinking about that dragon.
Yeah, maybe if you can push up this bottom lane enough, KT can just take it because they already got the tower in that part of the map. So they could, in theory, use that advantage. But before you get Trinity Force onto the Kog'Maw, probably not a battle that you are going to want to fight.
Probably not. Nagne looks like he's going for that Nash's Tooth. Pretty standard stuff for Azir's these days. It's prioritizing that attack speed.
Yeah. And Janair falling back around their blue buff right now is going to take out a ward that Score puts in up in the enemy jungle. They really want to push this up, but they've got to get the vision first so there aren't any surprises for the Kog'Maw if he strays too terribly far away from his tower. KT has TP advantage right now, so theoretically they could make a play if Pilot or Che walk too close to the river.
Yeah. KT also, so far anyway, and we haven't seen a lot of it yet, but they seem to kind of know how to play around Malphite's ultimate in that if you can get him to use it to escape, you just don't have to worry about it in a team fight.
Yes, absolutely. If you can get that nice gank off like we saw, not only did they get his flash and his ultimate, they killed him too, so it couldn't have gone better for them earlier, and that took away a lot of the threat when they were trying to make a counterplay underneath their own turret. So KT now just methodically clearing out that vision and continuing to threaten this Vayne. And you can see how scared Pilot is at the moment. The wards are in his jungle. Could be a TP flank at any time. He doesn't have vision. He really can't even farm this wave.
I mean, he's got a little bit of a CS lead anyway. All Pilot really needs is like a good team fight, and he can just start to snowball a bit.
Yeah.
But can Janair get that? I feel like they can. The coordination, you know, like we've talked about before, just seems to be here this week in a way that we haven't seen it all of 2015.
Well, that and the fact that they need to get this Fiora rolling. They don't necessarily ever have to have a team fight, and delaying the Dragon is probably in KT's best interest because they really just prefer not to group with this Fiora ever in this game.
Yeah.
So if they don't have to worry about a 5th Dragon, they could just keep on split pushing. Janair going to take a little bit of a gold lead now that Trace has gotten down that top turret, and the difference here is that Trace has gone for the Sunfire Cape into Ninja Tabi. He built Frozen Heart first the last time around. Now he's got more wave clear, and he still has a bunch of that armor, so I think he's realized that this may be, in fact, a better item to pick up in the 1v1.
Che trying to come in, be threatening, make a play. Score is there, though, in the jungle. Janair needs to be careful here. Oh, Pilot could be in trouble. Che loops back into the bottom lane. Now Peekaboo chasing just a bit. Pilot's cut off from his support and his jungler right now. Needs to be kind of careful.
Yeah, he does. Can't really walk forward. They need to make sure that at least the Braum can dash to the Vayne. But they can't really get there right now. KT trying to protect their wards and their tri-brush as best as they are able.
Yeah. Well, KT's done a pretty good job up until the last 15 seconds or so of fighting back and taking vision around this dragon. They've lost a lot of it now, but they're doing what they can.
Yeah, and this has definitely been Janair starting to take control over that bottom side of the map. Pilot and Che are playing this very well alongside Chaser. You can see Pilot was so reluctant to push into a wardless area earlier. Now that he has so much vision, he feels comfortable just shoving that wave all the way up. And now they're going to go after a dragon. And with Elise, there's not a lot of risk. You can keep trying that dragon because you can just tank it with your spider legs.
Yep, here comes Alistar. Peekaboo trying to be threatening, but he's the only one there. Teleport coming in, though, from Someday. Are they going to try to make a play here? Dragon does go over to Janair. Peekaboo in the middle of everybody. He's got his ult. Pulverized onto Chaser. Gets knocked up. Peekaboo knocked up his ult. Trace coming down, waiting to use that unstoppable force. Will they find a chance? They don't need to fight this, and they're going to elect not to. Janair backing off. I think that was wise. No need to take that fight. You got the dragon. Just play it safe. Play it methodically, and that's a change. I feel like the Janair of like a month or 2 months ago would have fought that.
Well, you know, it's hard to say. Score also really didn't have very good explosive cask right there. He couldn't actually isolate a target or knock anybody back into his team to finish off. I think they could have probably traded for something right there, but instead they just didn't get anything at all. And now Trace just simply walks back into the top side, has that freedom to clear out the wave without hardly any damage to his turret, and that's pretty much just a free dragon there for Janair. A bit of a 50-50 Score, got in there with the smite.
Yeah, that was close, but Chaser managed to take it away, secure it for his team. So where do you go from here if you're Janair? I mean, how are you going to... It's not the greatest siege comp ever, is it? You know, how much lane pressure can you really put on in between objectives?
Yeah, that's the thing, right? I think you're absolutely right, Doa. Is that Janair, they are built to fight around Dragon and Baron. And if you're KT, you're pretty happy that this first Dragon went away so late, because grouping just isn't the best thing for you as a team composition, barring some sort of crazy Fiora, multi-hit on the back line, which would be possible with teleport, but also difficult to actually pull off. So in terms of that, maybe someday we'll have that huge play. I mean, we've seen him do it on Riven before, get some insanely good teleport flanks in, and manage to just take out the back line of the enemy team instantly, but that's not exactly reliable.
I'm sure he can do it.
We know he can do it, but...
The question is will he get the chance,
yeah,
you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And one thing that Jin Air is good at is warding their flanks. They are a good team when it comes to having vision control, making sure they know the trajectory of possible TPs or possible flanks coming through.
Wow, they just waltz in and go for this red buff. I don't know if there's a lot KT can do to stop this. We'll see if they try. Nope, couldn't get it. Score tried to smite it over the wall, I guess, but didn't hit it in time.
Coming in, knowing that they had TP up. Remember, Someday tried to get into that last fight with TP. Trace didn't have to use that ability, so that's why we now see KT so readily able to give up their red buff. They know they can't fight it.
Yeah. And now just a concerted effort to push on this mid lane turret. KT got that bottom turret early, but can they get this one? Only GBM there. Looks like we might see a flank. Yeah, teleport coming in. Peekaboo trying to get away here. Score gets hit with that cocoon as he tries to body slam away. Peekaboo stopped up yet again. He's got the ult. He's so tanky, but as it fades, another kill comes in. This one goes to Pilot. Someday looks like he's going to take the top turret, but man, giving that Vayne kills is not what KT wants to do.
It's not, but they do get the better end of that trade when it comes to gold. Peekaboo tried for a flank between the turrets right there, and that was actually really unnecessary. He used his headbutt and his pulverize early just to try and secure the objective, but they have such a great siege composition. If you have Kog'Maw, Azir, and Gragas there, if anybody tries to engage, you just toss the Gragas ult out or the Azir ult. You really don't have to make that play. Peekaboo not having a good game.
And look at this. Jin Air just responds by taking the tier 1 in bot lane. Both times KT has taken a turret, Jin Air has been right there to take another one immediately afterwards.
Yeah, they're doing work, that's for sure.
Definitely. It's a different Jin Air team. It's surprising to me just how much better these guys look.
Yeah, I mean, I think it surprises everybody. No one would have predicted them to come into the gauntlet in this kind of form. That is absolutely true.
Well, coming in at the very bottom seed, I believe, in the gauntlet.
Yes.
Everyone thought Najin was just going to stomp him and then move on, you know? But it was the opposite.
The stompings were issued by Jin Air instead of Najin.
A cannon barrage of GBM cannot be underestimated. Too bad we're not going to get to see it today.
Well, we have blind pick, Doa.
That's true. We do have blind
faith.
pick. This one could definitely go to Game 5. I mean, we said it yesterday as well. It did go to Game 5 yesterday. CJ nearly pulling the reverse sweep.
Okay, well, we're back to normal right now. This next dragon is going to be very important. Jin Air would absolutely love to continue stacking that up, but KT, they need to just play a siege properly. Their 4-1 is so strong. It is incredibly potent with the Fiora, even though Someday hasn't had the best kill score this game. We've seen him in this position with Riven before, and the last time he played Riven from this position, he did get a pentakill at the end of the game. Yeah. So, he's doing a good job staying relevant when it comes to farm, getting some extra gold by solo killing that tower up in the top side. So he's perfectly fine right now.
That's still a pretty close game, definitely gold-wise and objective-wise. 30 seconds until the next dragon.
Trey's actually returning to top lane right now, even though he doesn't have teleport, so maybe just a quick clear. Someday recalling. He's getting another buy, and that will be Boots of Lucidity before this possible next team fight.
Trace needs to get down to the bot lane fast
if
he wants to have any chance of influencing this dragon. He's going down now, but it's going to be too late.
Well, they have vision on the Dragon Pit with the Scuttle Crab, so at least they'll be confident in that aspect. Dragon up in 1. Had KT started this immediately, might have been a different story, but Jin Air continues to get some wards down into the river as Someday moves into the bottom side.
You know, I would have thought that KT would have been more aggressive about this as we see Score getting harassed a bit because they know Trace's teleport is down. They see him up in the top lane. Why not just rush it?
Agreed. Also, they could have kept Someday in the top side and all he did was go back and buy cooldown boots, so he already had the BF sword. He could have just kept split pushing while he put pressure on the Dragon. I think that was a bit of a bad recall from KT.
Dragon being taken by Janair right now. Can KT stop it? GBM coming down. A little bit higher. Dragon still low health. Here we go. Who gets it? It's going to go to Janair yet again. Will there be a fight, though? No. Janair just backing away. Whoa! Meanwhile, Peekaboo comes from behind. Big knockup onto KT with that unstoppable force. Someday deleted off the map immediately. No follow-up for Peekaboo's engage. Trace, though, goes down. It's a 1-for-1, but I think this is going to go pretty good for Janair. They get another one onto Peekaboo. I believe that's his 4th death of the game now. And Cocoon dodged by Nagne's flash arrow and score on the run as well. And Janair just going to be content to push up this mid lane to clear this wave.
Yeah, and even though that big siege is alive from KT, they really can't do much about it. Nagne held his ultimate that entire time. We never saw it go down. And someday he just can't teamfight from the front. That's not something that Fior is going to be able to do, especially with how much single target CC is on Janair with that Cocoon and the Braum passive.
I don't think he's even gotten a chance to use his ult yet. KT may take this mid lane turret anyway. It looks like they'll get it.
Wow, with no mana.
That's
that was
amazing.
The last chance KT was going to have to get that turret, and they get it. So let's take a look at this. I mean, Peekaboo, he misses his pull, is a big part of it. Gets the exhaust down onto GBM. Trace responds by just shutting down the flank. And someday, hit by the Glacial Fissure. He has no time to do anything at all before he dies because the CC chain is too strong. Trace doesn't get out alive. Of course, he is going to be hit very hard with entirely armor. At the moment, he's got Sunfire Cape and now a Frozen Heart, so the Azir going to do work on him.
Yeah, the Pilot had a pretty good team fight too. Stayed in the right place, got the good condemns in, stayed safe, which is quite important. Janair just coming out a little bit on top. They do lose that turret. Now, they've been able to, again, respond with turrets of their own very quickly in the past, but it might take a little bit longer to knock down that mid now.
Yeah, and, they have some good wave
score.
there.
Are they going to catch him here? Takes a little bit of damage. Body slams his way out. Arrow poking as well. Janair tried to go for a bit of a catch in that brush with the pink ward. Trace coming from the side. He's got his ultimate.
Yeah, and this is absolutely the right call for Janair.
Yeah, good flank.
Just go for the baits. You need to play around Dragon. You need to play around Baron. You have to constantly be threatening those and force you to face check them because you're just not going to be able to siege.
Yeah.
So here we go again.
Catches a glimpse of GBM there. They're gonna, they're gonna scry more about the Baron. Oh, Trace completely misses his ultimate. Takes a lot of poke in return. Peekaboo comes into the flash headbutt, knocks Che out. Pilot takes a bit of damage. Trace goes down in the middle of all that. Actually, Pilot taking a lot of damage. Big misengage by Trace. GBM could be in a little bit of trouble. No ult used by Someday just yet.
He flash ulted for that too, just for the long range engage. And even if he had hit it, Doa, I'm not sure that anyone would have been able to follow up. I mean, Nagne had his ult, Score has hit his ult, so the disengage would have been big. I just don't even think it's worth going for that in the first place.
Yeah,
there's too many tools from KT that even if you land it, he was too far away from the rest of his team to actually get damage from anyone, especially Pilot and GBM. And then the other part of that is there are too many tools from KT just to get him right back out again. So flash ulting is not really going to be on the table from Trace this game unless it's from a flank position.
The weird thing is that with these Malphite picks, the most bizarre thing in my mind is that, Trace has flanked well, but we've also seen the teams they've played this Malphite against just not play into it very well either. They stay grouped up, they walk into things they shouldn't walk into. So it's just as much on the opponents as it is on Trace's Malphite, and now I think we're finally seeing a team that knows how to play around the Malphite.
Yeah, well, Arrow, he also went after a target who had his flash up. So
that too.
There's
that helps
yet another aspect to it. Essence Reaver onto Someday. This is pretty standard for Fiora these days. Really does benefit from the getting that mana back, considering she does have some mana issues otherwise, and then gives her the lifesteal and the flat damage.
He still has not ulted this game yet.
Yeah, I haven't seen him do that either.
Yep. Just doesn't think anyone on Janair is challenging enough, I guess. No grand challenges there for some days Fiora, apparently.
He's going to move on through the Dragon now. Minute 30 left. Early setup from KT Rollster, but they love to make sure they can get another one.
Yeah.
Or one in general, we should say.
Well, another one combined with whatever they've got the last time they got a dragon.
I really like this Rylai's second on Azir with this specific composition. If you can get the slow, that opens up Sunday's ability to fight with the rest of the team, so he can actually track down targets and maximize his damage. All the better. And he also will have more survivability if he gets hit by a Malphite and a Victor ultimate at the same time. So I do like that. Peekaboo has gone just for stacking health this game, and he's had those 3 Ruby Crystals for a while, and you may wonder why he's doing that. Well, when you have percent damage reduction on your ultimate, basically that makes Peekaboo incredibly tanky while the Unbreakable Will is running, because the flat health means so much more when you have 50% or more damage reduction.
Janair wants to do 2 things here. They want to take this mid lane turret, and they want to make sure that KT doesn't get the dragon. Which do you think should be more of a priority? Do they just want to knock down the final outer turret, or do they need to focus the dragon?
I think it'd be great for KT if they could at least just take 1 dragon right now to eliminate Janair's timer on that.
I mean, for Janair, should they go for the mid turret or
no,
the dragon?
Dragon, 100%. They need to get that now. This is one of their last remaining kind of win conditions. They need to go in on this.
Well, here they go. KT starting it. They find Score. Score goes in onto Chaser there. Chaser knocked up a couple times. KT turning on him. Peekaboo tries to get in the fight. Gets knocked up by the Bromald as well. Pilot exhausted. Explosive cast not doing a lot of work. There's a kill for Pilot. This could be bad. Dragon low as well. Janair could just turn and take it. Score tries to get in. Oh, he manages to smite it away. And KT on the run. Condemn against the wall. Score flashes to safety. Close call there. Score is really lucky that he got that dragon.
And now Janair, they have a kill. It's only on the support. They could take the turret. They could theoretically go for a somewhat risky Baron play. Remember that Peekaboo does have Moby Boots, so he can get out the gates pretty quickly.
Yeah, I don't think Baron is safe enough, but getting that outer turret is really nice. Couldn't quite save the dragon. Looked a bit risky. It was really Score versus Janair. It was a 1v5 to take that dragon, and he managed to claim it.
And get out, too. Didn't even have to pay for his life, and that's definitely worth it if you're KT right now. Go ahead, take the single dragon, slow him down, and if you can trade just a support for it, that's a trade you're going to make. Now, it was a bit dicey. It was misplayed. I haven't been thrilled with Score's ultimates this game. They haven't been doing a whole hell of a lot, and it did, because he threw it out so early, it did kind of lose them position on the dragon over the course of that fight.
Well, now Jin in a position where all the outer turrets on KT's side are down as well. They can try to get a few more wards in. And, to Najin's credit, their warding is not bad, considering that I feel like they've been the ones under pressure for the last, 5 minutes or so now. They still managed to get a few back in there.
Yeah, they have. It's been fine. You can see right now the map really dominated by Janair's wards, and this has been kind of their hallmark going through the gauntlet, is having very, very good vision control. Something that they've been known for a while.
Well, it's something that's interesting to see against a team like KT Rolster as well, too. A team that all year, or all second season rather, has been known to have that good vision as well, especially after Peekaboo joined the party.
The Peekaboo party.
Peekaboo party. That's right. It's a party with Peekaboo, and Janair's invited.
Well, they didn't like their invitation in the last time.
I don't think so, no.
26-1 in terms of kills.
They've already gotten, what is that, like
7 times more kills?
700% more kills than the last time they fought KT in just 30 minutes of the first game.
Yeah, in a best of 3. Yep. 1 kill in a best of 3 compared to 26 from KT.
It's pretty rough. Who got the kill? Do you remember?
I don't remember.
Oh, okay. Probably support. You earn it the most there.
Jay gets it.
That's right. Pop the Ignite at the last second. He's like, yeah, secured.
Does it matter who got it on Janair or who died on KT?
That's true. I think that may matter a little bit more. Wow, you can see just the enormous amount of damage Sunday's doing to Trace. Just huge amounts of damage.
Well, Sunday going for a Spirit Visage now, getting some more CDR and sustain, but you really do, you think, need some sort of armor penetration right now, because who's going to be killing this Malphite? I guess it could be Arrow. Does have the Kog'Maw, so that will be beneficial, but Arrow also without the Last Whisper right now, so Trace becoming pretty unmanageable, and the Fiora split push just is not working out for KT Rolster.
It's interesting that we're seeing Fiora kind of end up in the same situation that it was when Duke played it a little bit earlier this week, that the split push just isn't really working out, didn't get a lot of kills rolling. I don't know, right now out of the two that we thought would be big picks going into this week, it seems like the Gangplank is, you know, hands down the winner out of these two.
Yeah, I think it also says that we don't really have perhaps a top-tier Fiora player in Korea yet.
Could be.
So there is that aspect to it.
Baron being taken by Jinair right now. They've managed to sneak this one away. KT not in position to stop it really at all. Baron taken. Can they get away with the buff, though? Nagne coming in, poking a little bit, but it looks like Jinair's going to make it out. Yeah, Chaser very low, but he manages to make it to safety in the tri-brush.
Yeah, you can see how much work that Lylise is doing.
No kidding.
So much damage coming out of Nagne, especially now that he has finished his Void Staff. But one of the big problems right now for Jinair is we're nearly 35 minutes into this game, and there is no Aegis of the Legion yet, and that is a very useful item against Azir. It's good against Kog'Maw, too.
Yeah, KT totally just had the wool pulled over their eyes, for lack of a better term, with Jinair taking that Baron. And now with that buff, what can they get from it? Again, Jinair does not have a strong siege comp, really not a siege comp at all. So how much is this Baron buff going to really benefit them?
It's going to be a long game, Noah. It's going to be a long game. Because
sounds like Jinair.
Ideally, right, maybe you could split push with a Vayne, but with a Fiora in the game, that's probably going to be a death sentence. So basically, Jinair has to play around the dragon if they're going to get anywhere here.
Well, a minute until the next one. It could be the third for Jinair of the game, but if you add up another, you know, when the fifth dragon would come, it's going to be
47 minutes, 48 minutes actually will be the fifth dragon, possibly for Jinair, barring KT picking up any more in the meantime. And that is a long, long way away.
Yeah, it is. You know, it's interesting. Yesterday we saw a situation where Jinair surrendered 2 games against CJ. Both games they lost was a 24-minute game and a 22-minute game. Just deciding to move on to the next one. But all the other games were at least 40. Jinair certainly does play for the late game.
Well, it's to be expected with their comp, right? You want to get Malphite in the unkillable late game super tank status. Yeah. You need to get Victor and Vayne rolling in the late game. So it's not like I don't feel like they're really missing out on anything right now.
Wow, KT just going to let this one go. Jinair claims their 3rd dragon. Do you think KT's just confident that they're never going to have to worry about 5th dragon happening because of timing?
KT knows they have a nice scaling too, and why fight that one when it's only their 3rd dragon? You get another 6 minutes to move closer to that 6-item breakpoint, and there's no reason to take a risk when the enemy team has a Baron buff.
I suppose.
Just not worth going for it right there. Instead, just keep farming. They're not even at 4 yet, so they are not going to continuously threaten you with that 5th dragon for the rest of the game. I think that's absolutely the right call from KT.
Trace, in the meantime, moving down the mid lane. Just split push right down that mid lane with the Malphite. There you go. You've got your ult. You have nothing to worry about.
Just here to ground slam.
You're Mecha Malphite.
Everybody uses that skin.
It's because it's the best. Well, wait a second. Okay, yeah.
Sword Arm Malphite, come on.
You know, after years of claiming that Glacial Malphite is the best Malphite skin, I'm changing my mind.
I disagree with you.
Mecha Malphite wins for me. Sword Arm is cool, but Giant Robot Malphite is even cooler.
I think Ice Sword Arm is cooler.
I like the color scheme. I think it looks good. Blue buff goes to Nagne. He's happy about that. Sword Arm is cool. It's true. But Mecha Malphite wins it for me.
Would you rather have a Sword Arm, or would you rather be a robot, Doa?
I'd rather be a robot. Definitely, hands down. I mean, the thing is if you're a robot, your arm can be a sword when you want it to be and be a hand when you want it to be. You can change it. But if you just have a sword arm, then you can never, there's no variety. It's always a sword.
No, this Malphite has a drill arm.
Well, this Malphite can change his arm to be whatever he wants to be. He's a robot.
You have no evidence of that. Robots can't just change not every robot can just have sword arms.
What robot do you know that doesn't, like, change the shape of something?
You're confusing all robots with Terminator 2, Doa.
No, dude. Because Terminator 2, that thing, I don't know. That was not a very impressive robot to me. It was just liquid. What a boring robot.
Oh, boy.
T1000. 1000 is the amount of yawns. I yawned watching that supposed robot transform things. Boring.
I have to disagree with you. It's a great robot. It's
okay.
Great movie.
At least we're both Shen. So we've got that going for us anyway. Yeah. Have we referred to each other only as Shen this broadcast? I don't think that's happened. Uh-oh. Oh, well. Cover's blown now. Now we're about as good at ninjas as Shen. You know, the thing is after years, literally almost 3 years now of criticizing Shen, who do we cosplay as? Shen. I think deep down, I think we have to admit, Monty, that we love Shen.
I don't love Shen. I just hate myself. There's a difference.
There you go. I like that you're kind of a glass half full guy, you know. I don't love Shen, I just hate myself. There we go.
I'd rather hate myself than love Shen. That's how I feel about Shen, Doa.
I love Shen in sort of like a way that you love Mr. Bean. You know, he's kind of like a bit of a buffoon, but he's a lovable one. So it's the same thing with Shen, right?
Yeah, that's how our relationship works too.
You're right. I do love you, even though you've got that kind of simple buffoon thing going. I'm glad you accept my tolerance of you. We've got an understanding.
Oh, man.
Dressing like Shen makes you really aggressive and angry. Wow.
I don't feel angry, just disappointed in myself.
I feel like this is turning into one of those. See, the thing is Monty hates cosplay, guys. I don't know if you know this, but it took months of convincing to get him to do this. I'm very proud of the fact that after years, I finally got Monty cosplaying. It's great. I knew deep down he loved it or hated himself, one of the two. But I don't care. Whatever it takes to get Monty in a League of Legends costume, guys.
It's finally happened.
That's right. Finally, my dream has come true.
Well, I'm glad I could fulfill your dreams for you. So it wasn't very hard.
Yeah, I don't know where to go from here. I mean, can't really think of anything else. What's the next cosplay going to be?
I don't know. We took this cosplay idea from the fans.
We did, yeah. I believe like last year or something, we tweeted what should we cosplay as, and somebody said WTF 2 Shens, and we're like, that's brilliant, we're doing it. So whoever you were that made that tweet, this is all because of you. It's partially because of you. It's like about 55% because of you. Congratulations. Well, Janair trying to set things up for another Baron here. They snagged the first one. Dragon up in a minute, though, too, though.
This is how this game's going to go from
yep,
now on.
Pretty much.
Basically, we're just looking at that 5th Dragon. Jinair absolutely playing this properly. They don't really have any other way to win this game safely.
Dead even goal between these two teams. I mean, there's really nothing else they can do. You know, between Dragons and Barons, there's just going to be a lot of waiting around.
We're in an awkward situation. KT would love to siege. They absolutely would. But if they start sieging, they run the risk of getting hit by a Malphite ult and engaged on.
Yeah.
And they can't split push with Fiora, even though they have already 400 CS on Someday, because this Malphite is too tanky. So basically, the only thing either team can do is play with vision around the Dragon or the Baron, and frankly, this just favors Janair's composition pretty significantly.
Yeah, I mean, they can take all the time they need. There's the slowdown on the score. He's not too worried about it, though. They're going to turn towards this Dragon, but the slow to trace makes things a bit awkward. Oh, Someday coming in. Will Janair engage? I don't know. They're in a bit of an awkward position. I think you still go for this Dragon. Wow, Chaser forced a long way around the Raptor pit there. Little awkward moments here, but Janair thinking about coming in. They get the Q onto Peekaboo here. They're so grouped up. I mean, Trace could get a big ultimate, but you need the follow-up, too. And does Janair need to fight this? Oh, they're going on to Nagne. They found him. Nagne flash away, uses that Emperor's Divide to escape. This may get the Dragon for Janair. Peekaboo stopped up, though, around the Emperor's Divide wall. Has to pop his ultimate. Still going to go down. Another kill for Pilot. KT on the run. Janair can just turn this right into a Baron, right into a Dragon, whatever they want, really. Oh, Score flashes, get slowed anyway. Chaser on the run. Arrows right there. Score going to get taken down. And there's a kill for Gank by Mom. And what does Janair want to take with this?
Janair, this composition is incredibly strong when it comes to these team fights. And Trace, he found the opportunity. Nagne wasn't gripped up with the rest of the team. He made a positional error. Trace punished him on it immediately. And then as soon as KT tries to disengage, what do? Just chase people down with Cocoon, with the Braum passive, and of course with Vayne's passive too. So KT intelligently just taking the Dragon away. They're not going to let Janair have both. And as we take a look at this play right here, there's the ultimate onto Nagne. Excellent drop of the damage, just bursting him down. And there, Peekaboo goes in. He's trying to save Nagne right there.
Tries to flash over the wall, but doesn't make it.
And he will fall in the end. But that was mostly Nagne just being out of position and in a place where he could get hit by the unstoppable force. But, Baron, what is this going to do for Janair? I think the answer is really not much of anything. And
they got the tier 2 in mid so far, but the lanes are pushed up against them, so where do you go from here?
Yeah, and again, their siege, pretty poor siege, and they have to be very aware of the possibility of an Alistar or a Gragas engage if they line up to siege, and that's a massive, massive threat for them. They don't want to dive against this KT team. That could mean certain death. And honestly, Janair, it was probably better for them to get the Dragon than the Baron right there.
Yeah.
Even though it's one of those rare situations you could say that, even though it wasn't going to be that last Dragon number 5.
Wow, Peekaboo ults just to get out of that CC and stay alive. Janair putting some pressure on the bot lane, but someday pushing up in top. We saw Janair give away their bottom inhibitor twice yesterday against CJ to secure Barons. They were able to get a lot out of them then.
Yeah, they were. And Janair maybe a little bit too far forward. They don't have any good flank wards right here, and that means that the possibility for Someday coming in is pretty big.
Oh, Janair's still pushing, though. They're like, all right, we're going to just trade inhibitors, I guess.
I mean, it's better for them to take out this bottom in here.
Very true.
So
they get it they get the turret very fast. They should get the inhibitor as well. And they might be able to recall in time, probably not to save their inhibitor. No, they're just going to keep going, though. They're going for the Nexus turrets. They say, all right, they're going to call the bluff. There's the teleport. Someday going back. Janair needs to be careful now. Teleport completed. Someday can't take the risk, and Janair actually saves their inhibitor by just being bold. Wow.
That was really well played by Janair.
Yeah.
KT definitely was just trying to trade during the Baron. That could have been a pretty decent trade considering they didn't have a Baron buff up, even though it would have been obviously the bottom inhibitor for the top, which isn't the greatest trade if you're just talking about inhibitors come the next Baron. But in this particular instance, just pushing forward and threatening to end the game allows Chaser to go back and clear out this minion wave. So strong shot calling there from Janair. And KT, they folded in the end.
Yep. It's kind of a game of chicken, and KT had to lose. I mean, there's no way that Someday would have obviously backdoored the base faster than the entire Janair team could take down theirs.
Obviously, the question could be, in a 5v4 situation, could Janair have ended it? Probably not with the Azir and the Gragas. So KT may have just tried that a little bit too early. It's hard to know exactly how that situation could have panned out. KT taking the safer option, but I think it would have been very difficult for Janair to end right there, given the nature of KT's composition and how resistant they are to dives. And they could have also just waited for the dive to go down before Someday actually TP'd back in.
Pretty much. Well, Chaser's had a great game. Again, been very, very good on this Elise. And something that KT may really need to consider taking away from him in the next game.
Yeah, I really liked his first 2 ganks this game. I thought they were both very good. And showed a strong understanding of which lanes he should be in and the timings at which he should gank, working very well with his teammates in that regard. And Janair, it's another 2 minutes to the Dragon. I mean, this game could easily go over an hour with the way it's playing out right now.
Yep. Kind of seems that way. Janair looking to try to siege, but again, there's just no real way to do it. GBM has the most poke on his team, and that's not a lot to speak of.
Well, the nice thing is, now that they've actually broken the base, Janair can at least push up his 5, and if Someday goes down there to clear out the wave, the threat of a dive from Malphite is absolutely huge. So the 5v4 will be strong. They can also just zone people off the backside of the tower with the Malphite and continue to take tier 2s.
Jin Air can find some sort of a flank, too. If they can win big team fight, obviously they can end it that way. And
Malphite just needs to show himself around the backside of the turret, and then they will dissuade KT from actually defending, and KT will have to give it up, but Trace is going to walk up with the rest of his teammates. They're still going to get it as soon as Someday has to go back to deal with this massive slow push super minion wave on his Nexus.
You know, it's interesting because even though Jin Air doesn't have the traditional type of siege we're used to talking about, I suppose in a way, like you said, if Malphite shows himself, presents that threat, it's almost like having siege too.
It is, as long as he can walk up on the turret and threaten the back line.
Yeah.
But the problem is, again, KT, even if Malphite goes in, they know they can just ult him back. So in a 5v5, it's still super risky for Jin Air to go and siege as a unit, because if they dive, they will lose. I mean, they're just going to get destroyed by Fiora if they go in. So Fiora can't be there, and indeed on that little push, Someday had to go back. Nice patience from Jin Air, though, to take the turret. They knew Someday was going to have to go clear out that wave at some point or other.
Pretty much. Jin Air going for this dragon. This would be their 4th. Again, just trying to get one step closer to that 5th dragon, which would be really late, but they've got the time.
Super minions, let's see, they should just wait for that wave in the bottom side. It is close enough. So GBM picks up on a blue buff on the way through. Pilot has one too.
Good vision for Jin Air. There's a pink ward though from KT down a little bit farther in the river.
Jin Air doesn't have to start this dragon right now. They really should just wait.
Yeah, they started anyway though. KT trying as well. Maybe it's just to draw KT in. Trace has a chance to ult. No, doesn't decide to go with it.
I mean, Baron's up in 15 seconds, and that's probably on their mind, which is influencing their decision to go ahead and start this dragon early.
That certainly could be.
But realistically, just hold off, and maybe you can get both if you're Jin Air.
Oh, I've got a feeling. Okay, Arrow gets hit with the Q from Braum. No passive proc, though, not getting close enough. Dragon very confused. He doesn't know which direction he should go.
KT actually can't deal damage to the dragon because they're so worried about, if they walk forward, getting hit by a Malphite ultimate.
Yeah.
So here we go. There's a lot of super minions. Jin Air has done a great job of delaying it. And
Score takes a bit of damage. Dragon getting lower. They need to do something about the bot lane as well. Dragon getting low. They get it. Jin Air takes it. Someday escapes, and now they're going to try to engage. Braum ult used. They're going to hit Score. Pickaboo comes back in onto Che. Gets locked up for the moment. There's a big unstoppable force. Knockups, but where's the follow-up from Jin Air? They need to be careful here. They look unsure of themselves as they try to start kiting back. Damage being done. They're just delaying. Pilot goes down. A kill for Arrow, but 2 coming in for Jin Air. Never mind, the inhibitor goes down to bot lane again. Emperor's Divide pushes Trace back in. Trace tries to get away, can't make it. A big triple kill comes in for Arrow. GBM in trouble. That is a quadra kill for Arrow. Is it the Penta? No, not quite. Meanwhile, the Super Minions taking out one Nexus turret. They're going to do a lot of damage to the next one. They may even get it.
And that was what I love about Nagne's Azir play in a nutshell right there. They get the inhibitor down, but Nagne, you can see how long he holds onto it, and there's a big minion wave right here.
Those are long death
40
timers.
seconds, and this is probably going to be the end of the game.
Yeah, Jin Air not going to come back in time. They fought around that dragon. They looked a little bit unsure about that last fight, if they should take it or not, looked disjointed, and that's what cost them the game.
Well,
KT coming back. There goes Nexus turret number 1, Nexus turret 2 getting taken down as well, and it looks like KT Rolster will take the early lead in this contest to see who goes to Worlds. GG.
Nice comeback there from KT, but honestly, the biggest part of that last team fight was Pilot tumbling forward and getting killed. If he had not moved forward into the composition, Pickaboo managed to hit him with a nice pulverize, but had he played that team fight further back, I really think Jin Air probably could have taken that one.
Well, we'll see if he can tighten it up in game number 2. Little mistakes like that, though, that makes a difference. KT Rolster with the victory in